All right, we are back. We had to take a short. And,
We had to take a short one.
and we are back here, and it won't be a short one now. Jim, it's time to wake up. And let's head out west to Everett, Washington. In the shadow of Seattle, AEW Wrestling and AEW Dynamite in Washington.
You're going to get me going again.
I don't understand what your problem is today. You just
Everett, Washington. How about Ottumwa, Iowa?
It was a nice size arena.
Raw was in Greenville, South Carolina, but in the brand big new arena. And look up Google-fi for me if you can, how many people they had in Greenville, South Carolina, which a lot of people, I have fond memories, but a lot of people would consider it a secondary market. But Everett, fucking Washington? What's that next to? Butte, Montana? Where are they? I know I've asked you many questions. I have a lot of questions. I told you, and the first ones are geographical. How many people did they have in Greenville? I guess that's mathematical or logical. Or I could show you a world where I could be so dependable. How many people did they have in Greenville, and where the fuck is Everett, Washington, and how many people did they have there?
According to WrestleTix, who is always on top of this, at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena, if that is indeed how you say that, in Greenville, South Carolina, Monday Night Raw.
It just used to be the goddamn Greenville Memorial Auditorium, and we liked it.
Well, for Monday Night Raw on May 13th, it was liked, or at least attended by, 8,326 people. The previous Raw there, October 30th, 2023, 7,959.
So they're doing, the old auditorium could only hold about 6,200. So they're doing a couple thousand more than the old building could hold. They're doing 8,000 people. That's a secondary market. Where is Everett, and what did they have there, for comparison's sake?
All right, well, give me a second. I'm trying to get the Everett, Washington information. I didn't expect you to.
Well, now, wait a minute.
Here we go. Hold on. I got something.
I can just reach right around here to my Rand McNally Road Atlas.
Oh, I thought I was getting a ticket info. It's in Washington. What do you want me to tell you? It's in Washington State.
I want to know where the fuck it is.
Go north from Cucamonga.
Go. What were you about to tell me to go do?
I could tell you to go do a few things, but what I was going to say is AEW Dynamite at the Angel of the Winds Arena.
Oh, what? Yeah. She ran calling wildfire.
The Angel of the Winds Arena.
The Angel of the... Just call me Angel of the Winds, baby.
There were, as of yesterday afternoon, I don't have a final count, 3,223 tickets distributed.
3,223. Well, now I got the Rand McNally Road Atlas out here. It's got the cities in Washington. We got Seattle, Tacoma. We got Spokane. We got Bellingham. That's pretty much the cities they get.
A lot of places where the junkies have kind of taken over.
Bremerton. Oh, now, are you trying to malign these people?
Oh, yeah, I've been up in Washington.
Apparently, Darby Allin is that way naturally.
No, I've been up in Washington. It's a mess up there. It's a complete mess.
It was hell in there.
The idea, you know what? Who you know is the best idea for Washington? Kevin Sullivan. He lives on an island off Washington.
Yeah, he's been on an island off something all of his life. No, we love Kevin. We love Kevin. And yeah, he's out there. Boy, it's beautiful, and there's none of those pesky people. Wait a minute. Okay, Everett, Washington. Wait a minute. Let me use the old finger trick. I got to find the mileage. Where's the mileage key?
The finger trick?
The finger trick.
What is that? Your pinky's a mile?
The 1 inch represents 20 miles, and each one of the joints in your middle finger is an inch, unless you're a goddamn freak of nature or an NBA player or something.
Holy shit.
So...
I got a 500-mile dick.
Hey! That's only in those... That's only in those globes that cover entire continents. Then the scale is, But nevertheless, Seattle to Mount Vernon, Washington, apparently is 3 joints of a finger. That would be 60 miles. Everett, Washington is right in between on the interstate. Those two, so it's 30 miles north of Seattle is where they were at.
Man, you speak of 3 joints. Last time I was in Washington, I ate a whole fucking package of these. They were supposed to be cannabis-infused Starbursts, and I wasn't feeling anything. I was like, man, this is bullshit. This is like placebo. But now looking back, I listened to Sly Stone singing Space Cowboy for about 4 hours straight in that airport. over and over again. I'm like, I don't feel anything. And I'm like, well, I've been listening to this song over and over for a while now. 4 hours.
And unfortunately, your plane was already in fucking Jersey by the time you goddamn realized that.
I never landed.
All right, well, let's, from these flights of fancy, let's concentrate on the program AEW for May the 15th in Everett, Washington. They didn't at least play the open this week where the Buckaroos glorify themselves or gratify themselves, whatever it may be.
Yeah, they played no open.
No show open at all. They just, boom. They're in the arena and they hit the fucking trogs, and here comes Wild Thing, and here comes the plumber, and he staggers through the arena. And, you know, I'm surprised. I guess it's because it's only a smaller, intimate gathering these days, but I'm surprised he doesn't get lost one of these days on his way to the ring and go up a blind alley and then get stuck. I guess he probably has, because you can't really tell. He wanders back and forth a little bit. So he's probably, I bet you he's had trouble several times finding his way to the ring.
I don't think so. It's easy to find in these buildings lately. It's the only thing lit.
No. It's not the only thing lit in this entire building, in this company.
Well, no, he's in Jacksonville. He's in Jacksonville producing remotely.
I still maintain that there's an element of litness in this fucking arena somewhere. And of course, he's the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. He's the top guy. He's the important one. He's out. It's the first one we see, the biggest audience, opening of the program. Thought they had their own world champion. Oh, he's later on. We'll have a couple 100,000 less people watching by then. But so Moxley comes to ringside and immediately is blindsided. Boom! By Kyle Felcher and Jeff Cobb. And Jeff Cobb, we see, once every 18 months, he comes in, he looks good, he gets beat, and he goes somewhere again.
It's happened like 3 or 4 times since the beginning, since like the very beginning of AEW. Jeff Cobb comes in. I think he was used as like an enforcer by Chris Jericho or something early on. Impresses us, and then we don't see him again for another year and a half or so.
Yeah. Well, he could stay gone after this match for the next couple of years, because I think the impression streak has run out. But they jump Moxley on the floor at ringside and get some fake looking 2-on-1 heat. I put heat in my notes in quotation marks that couldn't break an egg. And then Danielson's music plays and he runs out and beats up Felcher first, and then he gets a hold of Cobb. And Moxley's back up by this point and joins, and they kick the heels' asses on the floor, and Moxley's shit looks horrible. And then there was a good spot. Danielson grabbed Cobb and got him against the railing where he couldn't move and drew back and punched him with rights to the face 15 times in a row, and they all looked pretty good. And then they rang the bell to start the match, and he got back up, and then they had the fucking match. The guy just got fucking his face bashed in.
And they did the thing where they played his music that entire time leading into the bell actually being rung.
And well, yes, Bryan Danielson was playing the part of New Jack at that point, so that they had the music going, and
he's Low Jack.
You know, anyway, I think there's a new rule that we have to institute, or it's not a rule we have to institute, but it's something we have to acknowledge, recognize. Apparently, if you're within 25 feet of Moxley, your work turns to shit too, no matter how good you are. Because even Danielson was off, I thought, at for Danielson standards in this thing. But finally, it was going on, and Moxley German suplexed Cobb and hit the worst, hokiest looking tag ever, where he had nobody was going to catch him or prevent him. And you could obviously visually tell it because he hadn't set it up right. And he stood up, and then he just kind of made a little hop and fell forward and fuck it, like that was going to be a big hot tag. It looked like he'd goddamn fainted. And then Danielson made a comeback. And, they do the things now where Danielson will beat up Cobb and the other two completely disappear. But then, as soon as their sequence is over with, you can see Moxley and Felcher jump back up from their hiding places, and they just take simultaneous tags and roar in at 100 miles an hour. And they trade the fake forearms and headbutts, and then everybody ignored the referee. And they each did shit to each other. And Moxley kicked out of a spinning tombstone at 2, and within, under 30 seconds later, was hitting his double arm DDT on Felcher and beating him 1, 2, 3. So that stack of dimes neck, his Adam's apple, looks like a mosquito bite on a strand of spaghetti, survived a leaping tombstone to come back and drop the other guy on his head in not as impressive a fashion and beat him. Before we get to the afterbirth, would you like to comment on the performance of the actual match?
Every now and then I find myself in the position I was in last night where I say, okay, there are people who think Jon Moxley's the best wrestler in the world. Let me watch this with an open mind, because I already think he's awful. And let me see if maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Within seconds of anything he does, you realize you're not wrong. There's too much of this. You hit me. Now I'm going to go over here. Hit me over here. I'll show you how tough I am. I'm trying not to do the voice now. We have more of that later, but it's hard not to talk about this dunce without doing it. His work style is atrocious. Atrocious. He looks bad out there. You could do a tough guy act. He has no tan. Okay, maybe you want to say a tough guy doesn't have time to lay out in the sun. Maybe so. He's got no tan. He's got no physique. He looks ridiculous out there. Unless you're already drinking the Kool-Aid, and I've always said it, the real cult of personality is around Moxley and this personality that he shows everyone, because the work is bad. It's really bad. That's all I'm going to say. It's just because there are people, and we'll talk about it later, there are people who still insist that he's really good, that we're missing the boat. And every time I'm like, please show me something, his work sucks. Every time.
I think people that think his work is good are drinking something other than Kool-Aid, but that's just an observation. But he's another version of what we've talked about with Eddie Kingston, is that he's fashioned the persona for himself that he wants to have rather than one that you might actually believe from the fucking looks of him. Kingston thinks he's a Japanese technical wrestling genius of some description instead of a fucking wrench-wielding mechanic from fucking Queens or Bronx or
Yonkers.
Brooklyn or where Yonkers. Where did we establish he's from? Yonkers. Yonkers. But Moxley is convinced his hero is that fucking bank-addicted drug robber, Nick Gage, who is a obviously mentally challenged individual. It's had a lot of bad habits in his life. It contributed further to whatever the fuck was wrong with him to begin with. That's a guy that this fucking moron idolizes. Hey, yeah, fucking he eats hand grenades and blows his guts up. I'm sorry, I'm infringing.
He's so cool. I want to be just like him.
Yeah, fucking Nick. Anyway,
at least he wears a shirt.
Who, the
Nick
drug
Gage.
robber? Yes, well,
Nick Gage. You don't get to really be unimpressed because he shows you that he's unimpressive in terms of physique. Moxley used to be in better shape. In AEW, we've seen it a while back. So it's just hard to take him in this role. But again, there's a fan base that continues to shrink that really likes him, whatever that's worth.
And he believes, that's one thing you always got to believe, but you got to have something to show for it. But he believes that he is what he thinks he is down deep in wherever that is.
That's right.
So
IWGP, I won't go pleasantly.
Speaking of here came someone unpleasantly because our boy Take a Shit. Remember when he was going to be a fucking big superstar and then suddenly disappeared? I wonder if he's commuting from Japan. Is he connecting in Heathrow to be with Ostrich?
Would it be worth it for Tony to just charter a plane from Japan if he has this many people go? I mean, Shibata was on this show. Ospreay was on the show, although Ospreay is going back and forth to England. Maybe they could...
No, he was in I guarantee you they pre-taped that. Will ain't grinding this week on that fucking Virgin Airlines round trip. All right, but anyway. So Take a Shit hits the ring and German suplexes Moxley and gets on top of him. Now Take a Shit's throwing fake punches. And the other heels got on Danielson, and suddenly the handheld is shooting the entranceway and suddenly zooms in because there comes Claudio. And so that, psychic cameraman that they hired for Union Scale is really paying off. And he hit the ring with what appeared and was described by the announcers to be a giant crowbar. And the heels bailed out. And what is going on? And every match, you'll follow a pattern. Every match, they either jump started on the floor or continue it after the bell till it's mind-numbing. I'm writing this shit down. I can't tell it apart.
And then they played Claudio's music.
Yes. And then that was it. And then they did a package on Swerve and Christian Cage, which, okay, at least they're trying to promote their other world champion. It was highlights and a blah, 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 and we'll see more of them in a little while. But all of a sudden, then, here the music plays again, and here comes Edge, one of their biggest stars. And he comes out on the stage, and the people are cheering, and suddenly, here comes Brody King and Buddy Matthews, and they jump him on the stage. He doesn't even get to the ramp part. He's still on the flat part. And they clocked him, and they throw him down the fucking ramp and into the stairs and into the ring. And then here comes Malachi Black walking out like he's going to get the fucking mail at the senior home, just slowly. And the heels are sliding the chairs in, and the Stooges hold Edge. And then, I swear to God, we've talked about this before, Malachi Black starts doing a boring promo while they're just holding the babyface immobile. And nobody's coming to help or stop it. And the fans start chanting, "Shut the fuck up." And I don't think that was heel heat, Brian. Do you? We had this discussion a couple weeks ago about please retire.
And we'll have that discussion again later today. I don't think the fans really like this. I think it went on a long time. I've been of the belief that people are both sick of House of Black and sick of Adam Copeland. And when you put them together, you get a segment like this, which was atrocious.
Well, and it was just, there was no urgency. There was no chaos. There was no jeopardy. There was no panic. There was no...
And it's the AEW problem, too. The baby faces always get destroyed. They never, ever do anything other than get destroyed. Even when they get a comeback, they immediately get destroyed right after that. And it happened to Adam Copeland here. Top babyface was destroyed forever by a mid-card heel stable that aren't really that over, who do boring promos.
And he wasn't destroyed forever like endlessly. He was it just took forever.
Took forever.
Because they were choking him, and they choked him out, which is, boy, that's in a violent angle. A choke out is about as goddamn passive. It's like putting somebody to sleep. It was a goddamn Kevorkian.
If only
they choked him.
If only there were baby faces to run out and save him, and then one does it, he gets his ass kicked too. Just this whole thing. What?
Little King of the Hill, they got 3 big heels. So the King of the Hill fucking thing with the baby faces trying to get in and help, but they've got the high ground. But nevertheless, they choked him out and took off his wedding ring, and Malachi Black put it in his pocket. And then Kyle O'Reilly appeared and attacked the heels. And I think for about 23 seconds, the people were up, and this was exciting. And then they stopped him, and bleh. And then all 3 of the heels ran and kicked 2 chairs that were, Edge was in the corner, and a chair was leaned up on either side of him. And a heel ran down each apron, and the other heel was in the middle of the ring, and they all kicked him at the same time. And his head didn't explode. So I assume he can be put back together again. But then the heels leave, and both the baby faces are unconscious and immobile, just laying there. And O'Reilly's on the floor, and his sock face is trying to put over how bad Edge is hurt. He says, but the camera's panning by O'Reilly laying there like he's been hit by a fucking truck on the goddamn pavement. Somebody's got to look at Kyle O'Reilly, but we need serious medical attention for Adam Copeland. So wait a minute. So it's just a flesh wound. Get the goddamn part-time fucking unlicensed nurse out here to care for fucking O'Reilly. But is there a surgeon in the house for fucking Adam Copeland?
Well, let's just stop for a second. He's such an idiot, Excalibur. And I always talk about how awful and counterproductive he is as a lead commentator. This episode specifically, he couldn't figure out what to say at several times. I'm serious. He couldn't.
I know.
Like at one point they were on him. They were on the desk, and he's like, like he had no idea what he was saying, what he was pitching to. He couldn't just have small talk. He's so bad as a commentator. Him and Shivani together are audio poison. And until they're off lead commentary, or until both of them are off commentary together, you have endless problems. It's time to end the PWG experiment. After this Bucks feud plays out, because it's awful, remove Excalibur. He's garbage. Put Riccaboni on lead commentary.
Hey, the AEW experiment may end when this Bucks angle plays out. And again, yes, they do have the young, the fresh, the intelligent Ian Riccaboni, or the old, the stupid, and the stale. Anyway, they did
seriously, put Riccaboni and Caprice on there with Taz. It would be instantly better. You don't have to get rid of Taz. Make Shivani the interviewer. Put Excalibur on Collision and Rampage.
Make him the victim of a collision.
You got to fix this show. This is the main show. They don't do anything to fix this show. They just let the disease spread to other shows.
Thank you, Dr. Kevorkian.
Hey, he was a bad guy.
But you're an infectious specialist. You can infect anything.
He wasn't an infectious specialist. He was killing people.
No, I said you're an infectious specialist.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
You can infect anything.
I went to community college.
Do they have infections in community college, or do you have to wait till you go to the state college?
You can get a lot of infections in community college.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they did this package. Apparently, the Lollipop Guild beat up Eddie Kingston on a New Japan Pro Wrestling show as a reason why he's not in the upcoming 4 versus 4 garbage match they're going to have on a pay-per-view.
And boy, I heard from fans who were in the building for that, and it wasn't a big crowd in, I think it was Ontario, Ontario, California, or it was somewhere in Southern California, and I heard that, those fans weren't into the Bucks and Jack Perry, and the pictures that emerged of them from that event have gone around. People are just mocking how ridiculous they look.
Well, yeah, it's again, people who have envisioned characters for themselves because they have nothing about their real life person that is in any way interesting or marketable, and they don't fit the fucking suit that they have created for themselves. But they did a fake promo about now it's going to be 4-on-3 or whatever. And, again, it looks like it's either cable access with some locals trying to impersonate the WWF talent in the 90s Attitude Era, or some type of, again, local sketch comedy show where it's, they're playing wrestlers and it's part of the comedy. But it's not funny because it's local and anybody can get on cable access. And they did a cheesy commercial with really fake acting about apparently the Buckaroos are going to have tennis shoes. The Bucker shoes.
Let's see how long it takes for them to go on clearance like all the shit at Hot Topic did.
Well, no.
Remember when that was a big deal?
Hey, in all fairness to Hot Topic, they thought they had like Bullet Club stuff with bullets and gun imagery and things. They didn't know that it was just bullshit. So they sold the people bought Bullet Club because they wanted to be the fucking Bullet Club, not because they wanted to be the goddamn Cucamonga Kids. Half those people didn't know who was in the fucking Bullet Club.
No, we heard from, people may think you're joking. At the time, this is years ago now, like 5 years ago, we heard from people who said like, yeah, my cousin went to Hot Topic and he saw this shirt, and when I told him what it was, he had no idea. He thought he loves guns. He had no idea it had New Japan Pro Wrestling connotations.
They lucked into profiting from the fucking Second Amendment lunatics in this weird country. Didn't have anything to do with their goddamn wrestling faction. Anyway, speaking of nothing to do with a wrestling faction, here was FTR in the back, and they had basically nothing to say except they found a fourth guy maybe for the garbage 4-on-4 match at the pay-per-view. And then here they came in all of their glory. We would like to welcome you to Munchkin Land. The Buckaroos come out in their costumes and their dramatic entrance and their lighting effect and what'd you say it was, 32 or 3,300 tickets that were distributed. Possibly some of them may have been returned. All those people just stare at them. Just fucking stare at them, don't they?
No
Am I
heat.
missing the people jumping up and down or screaming or booing or yelling or doing something?
They have no heat as heels, and I think a lot of people who are really into AEW, including people who work there, don't understand how the Bucks have kind of run out of time with a lot of people. They've been exposed, and they're not main eventers, at least in terms of, if you want to argue that you think they should be main eventers in terms of their work in the ring, I'll give you that, as long as there are no promos or angles or anything leading up to it.
Wait a minute, did you see the execution of the finish of this fucking thing?
Again,
talk about the work in the ring?
It was ridiculous, but there are people who love their work rate. I'm saying even if you want to give them that, their promos are terrible, their characters are terrible, they can't pull this off, their angles are terrible, they cause people to not care. They are not a net positive to AEW, and one day they'll understand it. One day they'll see it.
Well, the crowd stared at him. They wrestled Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal. Jungle Jackoff was on color, and his first words when they spoke to him were, "You're goddamn right." So now we're getting goddamn on just in a throwaway line by a fucking inept fucking talent on color instead of, hey, network, can we say that? I don't know. Perhaps the button guy called in sick on this night because the same network was trying to bleep shit as best they could a couple weeks ago, but they missed this. I don't know. And the Buckaroos won the match, and to add insult to injury, we not only had to watch them wrestle, but then we had to hear them talk. And Matty does the fake promo where he fires Christopher Daniels. You're fired because everybody knows that they're the EVPs and Christopher Daniels does a lot of stuff behind the scenes and he's been in talent relations. It's terrible. The announcers are it's terrible. All the stuff that Chris has done. Dipshits, the smart audience that you're catering to here, unless you're really firing Chris Daniels, they're going to know within the space of a few weeks when he still keeps showing up for work. Is my logic flawed here, Brian?
The fans in the building reacted really well to Christopher Daniels. And it is important to remember, and I'm not a fan of his, but it's important to remember he was a pretty well-used guy on TNA TV for a long time when they had a lot of viewers.
And he also was, for years, was one of the most talented guys in the ring on any of the independents. And the people respect him. And that's why they're trying to get some heat off of a fucking guy that the fans actually like. But go ahead.
But the problem is the fans like him, and they tried to get heat off him by firing him, a guy that you've never seen in this role on this TV show ever. So they have to tell you, he has this job that you didn't know about that we're about to fire him from. Because how else would the people watching this show know that the guy who has not been on this show in forever, who's having a match, who the fans are reacting to, is a executive behind the scenes? Why would anyone know that? They wouldn't. So then they fire someone who hasn't been on TV forever. They have no heat, so the fans don't give a shit about anything they do or believe it because it's unbelievable because they can't pull it off. You know, when Bischoff was being a dick to Randy Anderson, you believed it. You believed it.
Yes.
Does anyone believe any of this stuff with the Bucks? Not at all. So Christopher Daniels got fired. Is it going to matter? I mean, this is after they beat up Tony Khan and put Kenny Omega in the hospital. And that didn't matter.
But goddamn, now they've gone too far.
Now they've gone too far.
But now, and here's another thing. They couldn't even be heels, but it has to be entertaining somehow in their mind. But they fired Christopher Daniels, but said, don't worry, you're going to get a check for your full salary for the next 30 days. Like, that's a fucking great, the point is, before 15 years ago and still in many places, if you got fired in the wrestling business, your last check was yesterday, motherfucker. Take it or like it. The 30 days is charity in the wrestling business, and they're trying to get heel heat off of that.
And again, why can they do this? They have an ironclad contract they can't be fired from, so they beat up the owner of the company, but also they can do anything they want within the company and the owner can't do anything?
Well, of course.
Isn't he producing remotely? Isn't he producing remotely? Why couldn't he get on the headset? As we've seen a million times, and Shivani stands up, excuse me, I've had Tony Khan talking to me in my ear. He says I'm a douchebag. Whatever the fuck it is. They could have done that. They didn't do that. They can't even stick with their own shit. Kenny Omega was making matches from the hospital last week. He can't save Christopher Daniels' job.
When Tony was on the spot there on the scene, he would make a match within fucking 7 seconds of it first being uttered, and they'd have a graphic ready in the next 15. And that, unfortunately, he's lost his touch. And they again did some more comedy at the end of this, and then Jungle Jackoff, it pours his fucking drink, a cup of ice, whatever the fuck it was, over Tony Schiavone's head at ringside. And Tony has to do and
he called him a son of a bitch.
Oh, and call him a son. So now we get the announcers cursing.
And by the way, I think Schiavone could take Jack Perry. I'd put my money on Schiavone. He's 60-something years old against Jack Perry. Towers over him.
But it's like, this is, I know DX in 25 years ago was playing to the adolescent, prepubescent, or stunted emotional growth of the average American male or whatever. But these, they don't fit the look, first of all, and they don't look like they got out of fucking grade school. And then, by the way, we hadn't seen the last of Malachi Black because he was in a dark, spooky room with Edge's wedding ring and did a promo where he said some words and nobody really cares about it. And if he beats Edge in a barbed wire cage, then Edge has to bend a knee to the House of Black. Does that mean he has to join the House of Black? Does that mean he has to get down and blow the House of Black? How many, if maybe he wants to bend both knees. Maybe he'd be more comfortable that way because of his spinal situation.
Maybe you can get him a chair. A stool.
I'd like to send some of these motherfuckers to the chair.
So hold on for a second, because we've seen these ridiculous, awful, spooky Malachi Black promos, whether by himself or with his entire group of spooky friends in the past. They've been played on the video screen, been played just for the home viewer. Are we supposed to believe now that he stole this ring off Edge in the ring? By the way, that's a big ring. What was Edge going to do? Was he going to wrestle? Was he going to do a promo? What was Edge about to do?
Well, no, it was his wedding ring.
Right.
Yes.
What was Edge about to do?
He was coming out to the ring. We never found out why, because he had only been on camera for 5 seconds before they jumped him.
So Malachi steals this ring, and then he shoots this promo. Where is this promo? Because we've never established that the spooky area is somewhere in the back that he could just go to and they turn out the lights and he can walk away the same way every week. What is this?
It's down in the bowels of the building where Mankind's boiler room was. And that's when they made off with the ring. Edge was busy filing a police report with the Greenville Police Department. And meanwhile, Malachi Black was all the way down in the bowels of the building in the dark, spooky room with the stolen wedding ring. And for all we know, a set of clean copper clappers from the Acme School Bell Company.
I'll say this too, for everyone that thinks, because you've heard this, and I'm not saying it's true or not, but you've heard the whole, Malachi just wants to go back to WWE. He doesn't really want to do anything AEW wants. He doesn't want to do jobs. He just wants to go to WWE. If you're WWE at this point, why would you want him back? What does he bring to the table?
Well, WWE does a lot of charity work. And if they brought him back, he would be off television. That would be a boon to all of us, wouldn't it?
I think so.
All righty. Well, we'll find out about those knee bends. But then Hook had a match with Arnold Finster. I'm not sure that may have been his name. It's as good as any. And Hook beat him, boom, and called out Jericho. And is the Jericho, what is that? The music now, is that just some homemade shit or something? Has he gone completely the opposite way from Judas? Now here's a song that no one has ever heard or would want to hear? Is this, is it indicative of something?
It's indicative of him not being over. Here's another problem. Here comes Jericho, Big Bill, who in a week has changed his personality completely.
Yeah.
Jericho's acting the same way the Bucks are.
Yeah.
The disingenuous waving and trying to be a man of the people. And it's not working at all.
I wrote smiling and waving and phony.
Chris Jericho convinces himself, and then usually finds someone who's susceptible to bad ideas like a Tony Khan, let's say, and convinces them that he's ahead of the curve. He has found a way to take what's happening and turn it into something that would be advantageous for him and the company, not realizing what reality is, which is everyone is sick of you. Get off the TV. Your matches are bad. Your promos are bad. You haven't done a good creative thing in a long time. You need to go home. Now you've ruined Big Bill. And I think you heard it again here from the fans once again.
Well, yeah, because I had just written, I'll just read my notes. Why doesn't someone tell him this sucks? It's not funny when he does it for real. That's being a fucking disingenuous snake. Much less for fake. And then that's when the please retire chants broke out and threw him off. And you could tell it got under his skin, because not only did it throw him off, and he responded with an aside to the people, but then he stammered and didn't get back in control there for a second. He was all over the place.
His aside was, one day I'll be in every wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
that's an interesting comeback to please retire from the fans. All right, Mr. Heel.
Well, both of those things can be true. If Mickey Mantle had lived to play baseball until he was 86, you think that maybe somebody would have said, please, Mickey, please. Please, Mickey, you're so old, you need to fold. Hey, Mickey. Anyway.
One line in, I'm like, what's he going to rhyme old with? And
yeah, well. Still got it, kid. So I wrote, this is dying. And then Jericho, the big bottom line of this whole thing is he tells Hook if he wins a qualifier on Collision, then he'll get a shot at the FTW title. And then Hook had a microphone in his hand and hit Jericho a weak, awkward shot with the microphone. And Jericho sells kind of staggery. And I was like, I didn't know for a second. I was like, why the fuck I thought it was Hook's fault. But then when you see, Big Bill then jumps Hook for hitting Jericho, and the heels beat up Hook like they do every segment. They beat up the babyface. And then Shapoopy himself hit the ring, and the heels bailed out. And then you see that Jericho has done the old deal where he got him his movie blood, his entertainment blood. And he's palmed it in his hand, and he's got it on the back of his head like that Hook busted him open with the microphone, the back of his head. So, because the hair covers up, if he's got some and he's got it on his hand, he's got it in his hair, you can't tell, right? The problem is the angle that Hook had to hit him from where he was with the microphone to get him in the back of the head where he was going to do the deal was so goddamn ridiculous. It looked like Hook was a special fucking Olympics goddamn competitor. And the whole thing looked awkward. And then and then Jericho won't put his fucking bloody hand down. He did everything but fucking palm the lens of the camera to make sure that everybody saw that he had the blood in his hand. We need some quality control, Brian, don't we? What'd you think of all of that?
It was just atrocious. And again, Hook, they're going to blow it with Hook and waste Hook. Having him with all this nonsense, they've killed Big Bill. He was a lot better off with Ricky Starks than he is with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has been ratings poison the last several weeks. We'll see how this week plays out. Not as strong a competition. They didn't have the Knicks up against them. But Chris Jericho can't call himself the demo god anymore, if you notice. He's a tree now. He's no longer a god. He went from being a god to a tree. And that says a lot about his place. He's just there in the middle of this show like a big fucking tree. And you can't get around him. It's the biggest tree you've ever seen. And the leaves are fucking all over the place. And that's part of the problem. So yeah, no, this is really bad. And get used to this reaction for Jericho. And you guys could try to lean in. It's not one of those lean-inable situations. There's a growing audience sick of Chris Jericho who recognizes that his ideas are bad. And it's just going to continue to grow. But this is a bad segment, and...
This is like a Helix mattress designed for growing bodies.
Shibata comes out there with his music.
Shipoopy.
Stop, that got stuck in my head the other day because of you. And my kids didn't know what I was doing, and I can't explain that. Why am I saying Shapoopy? You may be wondering. Shibata comes out there. His music is not like the kind of music you can run out to. It's like a very gentle sounding star.
Yeah, it was almost like a goddamn fucking graduation ceremony or some shit.
I thought they were going to commercial. Like, oh, this is a soothing way to go to commercial. Yeah. All of a sudden he walks out there. No one cares. No one cares about Shibata in AEW. And he's not even doing a run-in, he's doing a walk-in. They should really lean into the idea that his brain was like out and back in. Just have him do wacky things like he's, just all of a sudden walks into the ring post or something for no reason.
All right. They got enough people on the show doing that accidentally without having him do it on purpose.
I thought that when he came in for the run-in and he walked, I'm like, it would be so funny if he didn't get in the ring, if he just walked right into the ring post and fell down. But yeah, no, this is awful. No one wants a Chris Jericho, Big Bill versus Hook and Shibata feud. And that's what we got.
And again, Hook is because of the situation he's in where he can't work regularly and he's had too much of a spotlight on him from the start, but he's not ready to be a pushed singles commodity at this point. And partly because of some of the things they've had him do potentially or whatever, but he's got some weak spots. We've talked about some of his strikes. He's got a unique style. He's got an appeal and a charisma, and the throws and the suplexes, and just that he's young he still needs to be more serious than eating his fucking Doritos when the shit's about to be on, right? We need to see a second gear in that personality where he's got a fucking temper and shows it. But also, can you imagine if instead of sticking Danielson, and it's just out of the cavern of my ass that we've been talking about this, instead of sticking Danielson in the BBC with all the fucking the plumbers and the fucking all the bullshit about how tough they are, and the guy that left the company and it was the only one from Blackpool. What if a year and a half ago Danielson had said, the guy that reminds me the most on this roster of me is Hook. He's a smaller guy. He had a technical style, but a tremendous work ethic and an ability to bridge different fighting styles. He could start building up. I'm going to take him under my wing and do it for real. Do it for fucking real. And for 18 months, not only is Danielson helping train Hook at the TV tapings, wherever they've got a ring, but he's either at a tag team with him most of the time when they wrestle, it's together, on the job, in the ring training, or in interviews or whatever, they're together. That's your story for a year and a half. And they have some probably great matches because it's Danielson if you put them with the right kind of people. And then you do Bruno and Zbyszko. And you have Hook versus Danielson on the way out on Danielson's last 6 months in the wrestling business. And he passes the crown of, great technical wrestler to goddamn Hook. Would that have been worth anything?
I think that would be worth a lot. I think it would benefit Hook a lot more than all this has so far in the end. And the best thing for me, as someone who was a big fan of Danielson, who's kind of sick of him right now, and there's a lot of things in his matches I don't like anymore, I would love to see someone else book him, not him just do the things he wants to do, and not him letting the people whose ideas he's been going with give him ideas.
I concur.
That's the one thing he hasn't had. He hasn't had really good booking. Other than like his first big time where he broke out and finally got over and they gave into it, the booking in WWE, there are always questionable things, and booking in AEW has been atrocious.
And, I guess now we can look back in hindsight. Remember when he was our favorite guy on the roster? He was a single heel. He was either the world champion at that point or about to challenge for, or somebody got hurt. He stepped up, whatever. That was accidental. They didn't really mean to do it. He just ended up there and they didn't keep him doing it. And he was the best in the fucking whole show.
Well,
all right.
Well, Jim, that Hook Chris Jericho segment, no fault of Hook's,
no,
was atrocious. Just a box of shit.
Oh, yeah.
That's too much for most people. Most people don't want a box of shit. They want a box of awesome. And we can tell them exactly where they can get that from. Our good friends at Bespoke Post and the Box of Awesome.
Because, boy, I'll tell you what, they don't deal with boxes of anything other than awesomeness over at boxofawesome.com and at Bespoke Post. And let me entertain you. Let me be your friend. Let me show you. Listen, can you hear that?
What are you doing?
The weight of this. This is my latest Box of Awesome. The Swivel. It is a desk organizer / storage compartment / whatever. It's a decorator type of item. It's a you got all the small things on your desk, Brian. You got paper clips, you got rubber bands, you got little
Lego.
You got Legos,
baseball cards.
baseball cards, whatever that
action figure arms and legs.
This isn't a goddamn coffin here. We keep the body parts out of it, but the smaller items on your desk. Well, this is called the swivel, and it is the Revolve tray from Mordico, along with the Tigerwood rollerball pin, also from Mordico. Mordico being one of the fine small businesses that the folks at Box of Awesome work with.
Did you say Tiger Woods?
No, Tigerwood. Tigerwood rollerball pin. You see, here's what's going to see the pin.
I thought it was a golf thing. You said Tiger Woods.
No, the pin.
The golf pin.
Oh, would you let me tell you about the pin? The pin, I'm taking the top off of it right now. And, it unscrews. I see what's happening here. No, the pin.
The pin is 1, 2, 3. That's the pin.
The pin, the writing pin that you have in your hand and you write with, the handle is wood. It's wood grain. So it matches, and the top is I believe this is a gold or a brushed copper. It has a very antique look, so it goes along. I'm going to put this on the desk in my antique room.
So
because it's a beautiful pen that you can jot things down with.
I thought you were saying pin. I didn't realize you were saying pen. But so Tiger Wood is a type of wood?
I said pin.
Now I realize it. I didn't realize it before.
A Tigerwood rollerball pin, because there is not rollerball Rocco. There's a rollerball and it writes beautifully. I'm making a note now to tell you later on to go fuck yourself.
Hey, that's not very nice. But my point was...
What was your point?
I had it there a second ago, and then you had to tell me to go fuck myself. No, my point was that...
Tigerwood...
Is Tigerwood a type of wood, and I'm just not aware of it? Do you know anything about Tigerwood?
Tigerwood, it's a grain is what it is. And it's like it's tiger striped here. I'm looking at it. Can't you see it? I'm holding it up to the microphone. But it's a beautiful pen that would belong on any executive's desk, and it comes in a little sheath, and it comes in... Now, there's a box to the swivel... Hence the box, and then you can put all your things in that. Let's say you got jewelry, you got a watch, you got keys, you got whatever. And then there's a tray, a wood grain, beautifully accented tray that sits on it, courtesy of a little magnet fucking little device in there, a little spindle, it's not a screw, it's long. And it sticks right in there. And the swivel, hence the name swivel, with one finger, you can just turn the tray on top around to the other side, and you can get into your box, and then you can flip the tray with one finger back around, and it becomes the lid of the box so you can't see inside the box. But there's stuff in the tray on top for you to be able to put in there.
It's the worst description I've ever heard of anything.
I have told you exactly what this thing looks like.
This man learned from Bill Watts, ladies and gentlemen, and listen to him try to describe this.
And it has weight to it because it's made from the finest materials, and you can tidy up. Effortless organization at its finest is what it's talking about. A practical, stylish place for your essentials to live. It's the Revolve swivel thing here. But that's just one of the many items they have at boxofawesome.com. And 90% of everything that comes in your Box of Awesome is from a small up-and-coming brand, a mom-and-pop store that they're bringing to light. They're giving attention to these fine products from all across the highways and byways of small-town America, and we've got to support mom and pop because they're the backbone of all of us. Because if it wasn't for mom and pop boning, none of us would be here. We've got a debt of gratitude that we need to pay the mothers and the fathers out there by supporting them in their twilight years and buying all of these products, because Box of Awesome is doing a service for these people that are... Who knows how close they are to crossing the river Styx? And one more time before that eternal flame goes out, they'd like to have some recognition. That's what Box of Awesome is doing for mom and pop, and we should too. Brian, what did you get in your box this week?
Again, you do want to support the mom and pop stores, of course, and that's one great way to do it is by getting Box of Awesome.
And even if Pop has left mom, support mom. And by the same token, if Mom turned out to be a floozy and left Pop, still be in Pop's corner.
Well, Jim, to give the listener, let's not go down that road. I don't know what's wrong with you. Let's give the listeners a little bit of an idea of some of the other things you can get in a box of awesome. I have the last 2 boxes of awesome cards here, so it has the list of, not ingredients, but occupants in the box.
Occupants? How many people did they send you this month?
I received last month, or I believe it was last month, After Midnight Candle. I received a Bow Hill Blueberry Scrub Daily Moisturizing Lotion, the Rising Moon and Rising Sun Bath Soaks, and the Tranquility Aromatherapy Oil. This month I received...
Ooh, well, now, wait a minute. Now, that sounds like that'll put you in a nice, tranquil state. It'll ease your worried mind.
Certainly.
It'll remove the stress from your body and your aura and your chakra and your Deepra and your Deepak Chopra.
This is the Soothe package, for the record.
Well, there you go. And now, what did they follow that up with now that you're nice and soothed and relaxed and calm and zen-like?
I've received now the Trail package, including the Gut Hook Knife, the Field Box, Surviving the Great Outdoors by Brandon Leonard, a pocket saw with nylon straps, and a paracord bracelet, so I could paracord whatever the hell that means.
What I was about to say, are you a paratrooper? Are you parasailing? What is paracording?
What, before I look it up, what could it mean? Let's try to figure it out.
Could it mean that you hang from a bracelet on a cord high above a fucking chasm or other deep crevice? But are they expecting you to be turned not only out of your home, but out into the wilderness where you're going to have to live off the fat of the land?
A paracord is short for parachute cord.
Oh, good Lord.
It is a lightweight nylon kernmantle rope originally used in the suspension lines of parachutes. So yeah, this could hold you up, ladies and gentlemen. You could climb the tree and not worry. I don't know how it works, but
I was about to say, what are you going to be hanging off of while you're wearing that? Is that batteries not included?
Again, a lot of people out there are adventurers. Again, we're talking America. We're talking driving in America with eagles and American flags and beer. Cold, hard American beer.
Cold, hard American beer. What?
So you never know when you need a parachute cord. I mean,
but whose guts are you going to hook with that gut hook knife out there, Rambo?
Hold on, let me open this. I got the kit here. Let me open this and see this knife.
I like my box of awesome better than yours because I get to organize things on my desk instead of contribute to the fucking downfall of society by being some type of mountain dweller that fucking preys upon society.
Oh, this is a nice knife. Hold on. Ooh, this is really nice. Let me rip open the styrofoam. Oh, it's very sharp too. Gotta be careful here. We gotta be careful.
It's just a flesh wound. Does you have a Band-Aid?
Oh,
it seems to be bleeding worse now.
You never think, how do you package a knife when you're going to mail it to someone? Because usually you don't mail knives. This thing is wrapped in all. Well, here's a nice leather case for this nice gut hook knife. Oh man, this thing could really fuck something up. Wow, this is nice. This is nice.
Well, folks, I'll tell you what, at Box of Awesome, that's how we like to do it. We like to send you nice things, even if you should be passing a background check to receive them. But once again, folks, some of these things and many more can be yours, whether you want to drink and eat more awesome or dress and travel more fancily or explore more awesomeness of everything. The Box of Awesome folks have you covered this spring. You go to boxofawesome.com. You're sharpening that knife, aren't you?
I am. I got a sharpener here. Yeah, this thing's nice.
Yeah. Sharper than a serpent's tooth. And you take the quiz that will help them pick the right box of awesome for you that arrives at your location every month. New items across a ton of different categories every month. And when you become a member, you're going to have access to stellar discounts across the plethora of products. Maybe even as much as 30% off or more. And as we said, you're supporting dear old Mom and hardworking old Pop out there in the hinterlands, out there in Lawrence, Kansas, or La Jolla, California, making these handmade items and these small town products that are then taken by the box of awesome people and spread around the world to the benefit of these small businesses who might never otherwise have a good shake in life. And I think we've got to celebrate that by buying all these things immediately.
That's right, especially right now between Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Yeah, because then after that, it's going to be another 11 months before Mom's Day comes around. And unless you've got, is there a step-parents' day? Stepfather, stepmother? What about a cousin's day?
There's no cousin's day.
Well, it just depends on the state you're living in. But nevertheless, folks, you also get a free mystery gift with your first monthly shipment when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code JCE at checkout. That's the only way you're going to get the free mystery gift is if you enter the code JCE. If you don't want to enter the code, you ain't going to get the mystery gift. And this is not some Black Scorpion bullshit. This is a good surprise that's going to come in your box.
Yo, this wire saw is awesome. You could totally take someone out with this.
I was about to say, are you planning on dismembering a human skeleton or other type of biological structure there with the bone saw that you got?
Not that you know of. This is great. What a wonderful Box of Awesome. Support them today. They are awesome, and so are you. What's that promo code, Jim?
Boxofawesome.com, promo code JCE for a mystery gift. And bless you, Mom, and bless you, Pop.
All right, Jim, well, let's get away from the gut hook knife and get back to the gut hook that is the weekly AEW wrestling show, Dynamite.
The gut-wrenching episode of stomach churning, potentially, toenail curling. So finally, we get to the aforementioned real AEW actually world champion, Swerve Strickland. He's in the back and he does a promo and he talks about Christian Cage at Double or Nothing, and then he's wrestling Brian Cage tonight on television. More on this in a moment. Nana's still gone, but am I missing it? Are they saying Nana was injured in the attack? One of the attacks on Swerve, I think it was 2 weeks ago when they left him laying on his fucking face. Did they hurt Nana? Or is Nana just gone?
I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. And, you know, you remember Jericho got over in WCW with Ralphus. And when he came to WWE, he did not bring Ralphus. Not to say that Nana is Ralphus, but the point is, there could be the idea that Nana and the...
I think you could pick a less extreme example than Ralphus to say that Nana was somewhat of an intricate part of the puzzle that comes together when people start liking a presentation.
Right. I guess the question is there anyone there advocating for Swerve as world champion not having a dancing babyface manager who doesn't really, interfere?
Well, but here's the thing. We didn't want Nana, we didn't want Swerve to have a dancing babyface manager when Swerve was invading babies' cribs and committing plunder on ships at sea and all the heinous acts he was doing. But as the people started liking him and they started liking Nana's dance, now he's the babyface. Yeah, then why not have the other guy with him that people like, that is his hype man, his manager, his second, his friend, establish a personal relationship between them, that they're friends, that he owes Nana because Nana's older man that took him under his wing, that had been around the wrestling business and knew the shark-infested water, any kind of thing like that. Are you sniffling? Because it's
tearjerker. Nana is an older man.
Well, no, then Swerve. Then Swerve. Nana's he's been around longer in the wrestling business. His connections and, wherever Nana used to be from, where the fuck's the embassy from? The point being, make them friends, and then the world champion has a weakness. You can hurt his trainer, you can hurt his friend, his mentor, that people like. Then there was and then now, but the thing is, even if he was just Dick Trickle and his fucking merry band of pranksters. If they beat him up and hurt him, then Swerve would be talking about it at length, shouldn't he? Or if he fired him, shouldn't he say, if Nana wasn't part of the attack by the other fucking heels in the stable that we said didn't make sense to begin with, because now you got Nana managing job guys and underneath talent and the world champion. Leave Nana with the world champion where it makes sense, but he wasn't with anybody. He wasn't with the fucking underneath heels when they turned on Swerve. What sense does this make? So he does the promo and then walks through the gorilla position out into the arena for his entrance. And he's from Washington State, which we find out this is somewhere in the vicinity of Seattle. A small smattering of cheers. This was not a Cody Rhodes entrance, was it?
Now, to be fair, AEW also, on top of not always having a lot of fan engagement at the shows at all times, doesn't do a good job, it seems, of miking the crowd. But it didn't seem like he's our Hulk Hogan, he's our world champion, he's our top guy kind of pop.
They weren't jumping up and down. They weren't waving their arms in the air like they just don't care. They weren't doing the Jey Uso with the phone. They would do Swerve's house when prompted, but there was nothing to sing along to. There was no Nana to lead in the dancing. He's a secondary world champion to fucking Moxley, who can't be injured by a goddamn rainbow bread truck running over him. And now this is... Remember, we've talked about 2 weeks in a row previously to them seeing him here that he has been left on his fucking face.
Right after winning the title. That was the follow-up to him winning the title. They completely beat him down.
And they don't just beat him down, then they leave him down and they put their foot on him so he can't move, like he's scotch taped to the goddamn canvas while they cut promos on him that he can't do anything about because he's laying down there. Just like they used to do with Hulk Hogan and Steve Austin. And then Swerve is wrestling Brian Cage. And as much as I like unintentional comedy, you know what you're going to get out of Cage, and you know what you're going to get out of this. It's going to be at least 15 minutes, and it was. And everything that the world champion can do to beat this fucking mid-card loser that has been hanging around for 5 years by the skin of his teeth. Did you get anything more out of this match than that?
I think a large part of the problem with AEW and part of the disconnect between the most hardcore AEW fans and the average wrestling fan is, to the average wrestling fan, to AEW fans, let me start with them. To AEW fans, the most hardcore of them, every match is being watched, it's being rated, it's being thought of as a good match or a great match or a bad match. To the average wrestling fan, these are long competitive squash matches. You know who's going to win. You know who should win. They will win. It's going to take them forever to beat the person that they're wrestling against. It's everyone on AEW's show. It's a long competitive squash match.
And then subliminally, see, that's the thing. We're not saying that it shouldn't be Swerve versus Brian Cage. It should be half the length of it. And
Swerve hasn't looked impressive once since he won the title.
That's the thing, is it depends on who you're showcasing, not what everybody in the match can fucking do just because they can do it. We've said this a million times, but if you have Swerve and Brian Cage and you give them 7 minutes, Swerve shines a little bit, but Cage cuts him off, and Cage does, besides the regular wrestling in the heat, 3 or 4 things that are goddamn impressive. And then Swerve makes a comeback and hits his fucking finish. And you remember Cage as being impressive, but this guy's the world champion. Instead, if the longer Cage goes, the more awkward he's going to do something, or the more fucked up it's going to look, or just the more stupid or whatever. And at the same time, you're telling people, let's take his Swerve. Goddamn, somebody hand him a handgun. How long is it going to take him to beat this guy that doesn't ever beat anybody else? What kind of champion is this? And that's what the idea that you plant. So, and then after Swerve finally did beat him by the skin of his teeth, he got a chair and he hit him with it. What a babyface. Well, yeah, he got over doing heelish shit. But then Christian's music plays, and I swear to God, I thought, as I saw this playing out, I said, no, it has to be a rib, and and they're going to reverse this. They're going to turn it around at the last minute just to get us, you and me, Brian. But no, it was a rib. They didn't get it. They didn't turn it. Christian's music plays, and out comes Christian and Nick Plain's mom, the biggest one in the group except for the lizard. And suddenly in the ring, this fucking droop-faced fucking dullard, he looks like one of the fucking Darling Boys on the Andy Griffith Show, played by the Dillards, who were somewhat of a dullards, but they were a great bluegrass group. But Nick Plain came in from behind Swerve and hit him in the nuts. And Dino came in and hit him with a big boot. And then they've got an 8x10 picture that they've carried in with them, some of Swerve Strickland with, I guess, his wife and child, his family. They call it his family picture, as a woman and a kid. And an 8x10, maybe even generous, in a goddamn, I don't think there was any glass in the frame. It may have been something from Walmart that was plastic, whatever. But I guarantee even in this small of an intimate gathering of fans, they could see what the fuck he had, and he hit Swerve over the head with it. But nothing broke. Did you see glass fly or anything? It was just like hitting you with this writing pad. Boom. And Swerve goes down and hits a goddamn artery, apparently, because he's just not even dripping, but running blood from the corner of his eye.
It's every time he bleeds. If you notice, he's always, because we've seen him bleed several times. We saw Adam Page drink his blood. He bleeds a lot.
And not a lot as in often, but a lot as in quantitatively. It's what you're saying, quantitatively.
Puddle-wise, yes.
Puddle-wise, the puddle scale. So he's hit a gusher, and they held him down while Christian cut a promo on him and then wiped his family's picture in Swerve's blood. And 3 weeks in a row, the first 3 weeks after he won the title, and they've jerked his hair out of his head. I can't say this without, oh God, my face hurts. They've jerked his hair out of his head. Might as well have stuck it up his own ass for what that's worth. They have busted him open and wiped his child's picture in his own blood. And then they held him down by using him as a doormat with the lizard's foot. And that was a charity move because they was really supposed to just lay there, and Christian was taking so fucking long, Lincoln could have redone the Gettysburg Address. So is there any more way to emasculate this? When are they going to leak a fucking videotape of him goddamn being buggered by a fucking farm animal to embarrass him?
And that's 3 weeks after the pay-per-view, and next week's the go-home show for the next pay-per-view. It's ridiculous the way they've treated him since he won the title. He means less today. They can show any package they want about him doing press appearances on local morning TV shows. It doesn't do anything about the booking. It doesn't help anything about the booking. It's been booked horrible. And now, I don't want to see him and Christian Cage. I have no interest in seeing that. The only thing I will say about this...
I'm afraid Swerve's going to get hurt.
I just don't want to see it. I'm sick of Christian Cage, too. This feud has not helped that. Nick Wayne, though, when he attacked him in the ring, at least that made sense. And to me, that's the problem. It would almost make Nick Wayne the babyface. They said Nick Wayne's been waiting for this moment here in Washington, near his home, to get revenge on the guy that snuck into his home. Yeah, you know what? That makes perfect sense to me.
He was kind of justified. Well, fuck the baby face then.
You see what I mean? It's all booked backwards. It's all fucking crazy and wrong.
I'll draw less money today than yesterday. But twice as much as tomorrow. Oh. So then, back in the back. Let's go back in the back and see who's back. Samoa Joe was giving Hook a talking to. Basically a straighten up and fly right type of fucking speech, you know, and blah, blah, blah. I saw something in you. And to hear Samoa Joe's the heel and Hook's the baby, but he's pepping him up. Okay, they have the history, right? Blah, blah, blah.
Big pop when the people in the arena saw Joe on the screen.
Big pop and big, you know, they were into what. So for once, you've got something approaching an adult conversation amongst these fucking blithering nincompoops on his program, where Samoa Joe is trying to get Hook to dig in and apply him saying, don't fall for this bullshit and don't do it, straighten up, fly right, whatever. And then Joe walks off and they've got Shapoopy is standing next to Hook. And you know, Shapoopy has the gimmick where his phone speaks English for him. And as Joe walks off, because he's wearing a Samoa Joe shirt, the fucking Shapoopy's phone says, he's much too large to be wearing a floral print. And people fucking laugh, and the announcers laugh. And any constructive help that they might have given this thing with Hook, or to make a former world champion in their own company look like they're trying to do something for the adults in the room, they just shit all over it with just stupid silliness from this fucking guy. Again, Shibata, if he stowed away in the cargo hold of a Federal Express plane from Tokyo, they still overspent on his trance. What good is he that somebody could drive to goddamn Everett, Washington, couldn't stand there and hold that phone and fulfill?
I don't know.
So now we got the Goyles. The Goyles are up next, Brian. Tony Storm versus Harley Cameron. Timeless Tony Storm. How about Time's Up Tony Storm versus Harley Cameron? Harley Race actually had a sexual affair with Dave Cameron's wife when he was in New Zealand.
Whoa. Dave Cameron is still alive. Let's not say things like that about a man. Jeez.
Harley, he would be proud if Harley had screwed his wife.
No, he wouldn't have. Let's just make sure we get that on the record. No. One of the great historians, Dave Cameron, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, but Harley Cameron, well, she's from across the pond over there, right?
Steve Ogilvy, if you hear this, do not play this for Dave Cameron.
Anyway, we love Dave over there, but
do you love Harley Cameron?
No, I love Harley Quinn, my little puppy dog, but no. That was a match that happened. And then after it, Renee Moxley Good was out there and introduced Mercedes Moon. And she did the entrance with the stripper dance and the Can CEO chants and no reaction from the crowd. And I think it's become part of the reason why she has become such an annoying fucking heel to people. I don't even know if it's a money drawing heel. I think they're booing her just because she's full of shit and they know it. And they don't want to see her. And nothing as good is going to happen when she's out there. That kind of booing. And part of what has made it that way, besides the way she's been booked and this haphazard logic about everything and her being opposite Willow, who's the biggest baby face they got, and blah, blah, blah. she acts like she is so over, and she has been doing this since before she knew she wasn't going to be over. She acted this way from the first time we saw her. That she was so over when she comes out, that she's so full of herself, and she's so convinced that people are viewing her as a star. Since the initial reaction, she has doubled down on acting more like she's leaning into more like she's over. And the fans have responded by leaning into more like you ain't over and we don't like you. And so now it's feeding on it that she's acting such a star that's getting zilch reaction that it puts her over as more of a heel. But and I'm not sure if she realizes this, and they're making her a heel now. Obviously, I say obvious. They're following the trend, right? Because they now know that she's become a heel, and is Tony convinced that that means that he can still get his money's worth out of her if he just goes with it? Or does he know that they've shit the bed on the whole thing? Because she ain't a good heel either. Help me.
I don't know. And I think this is one of those situations where the AEW fans may not be fully accepting her, and they love Willow. And why wouldn't you? Willow needs help with promos.
That's what I was about to say. Why wouldn't you? But go ahead.
Other than that, and, she's still at the beginning of her career. She just started talking on TV, within the last year and a half? Mercedes Moné's been doing it for a long time.
Well, my God. It's not exactly a full-throated endorsement of experience, but still.
But my point is the fans chose Willow, and they like Willow. And now they probably have to watch Willow do a job for Mercedes Moné, and they know it.
Well, but also from what you said, I agree with both things you said. A, the fans like Willow, and she's a big baby face with them. And B, she's not experienced at promos, which is exactly why somebody wrote her, or potentially she wrote herself, but a dramatic, long dissertation, and she recited it, and she's trying to put the inflections. She's trying, but I go back to my advice to everybody for the last 30 years in camps and tryout seminars and training programs and whatever. Give me a degree of difficulty of 5 and an execution of 10. When they try to get dramatic with the verbiage and there's inflections that need to be done and blah, blah, blah. It took a while. It was dramatic. There was somewhat of an element of recitation in it. As Dusty used to say, when people were seeing a segment that seemed like it wasn't going to end, people at home thinking, when will it bullshit be over with? They like Willow and they cheer the things they say, but you don't put somebody at that level of experience on the spot to go that long and get this involved with this. She's trying to rally the troops and do a campaign speech when maybe she's not ready yet, is what I'm saying. So Mercedes was even longer. Well, it just seemed like it. Maybe it wasn't as long, but it seemed longer because it was worse acting and rotten material. And then they fought, and Willow powerbombed her through the fucking table. And it was the biggest pop of the show.
And the referees all ran over to make sure she wasn't dead.
Well, but I mean, dead professionally or medically? Because what does it say when the biggest pop on the show is this superstar that you won a supposed bidding war for and cost you a lot of money? The people have just cheered when she got powerbombed through the fucking table before she's ever had a goddamn match. And she started out as a babyface a month ago or whatever.
The best thing you could hope for is that Willow and Statlander get signed by WWE. But I don't know how realistic that is that it's going to happen anytime soon.
Get Willow, get Willow, get Willow. That's my advice to the WWE. Get Willow, get Willow, get Willow. So, getting to the championship match. And by the way, they put the news out earlier in the day that Tony Khan tweeted they were going to have a significant overrun on Dynamite. Did you see that messaging going out?
I had not seen that, and it was certainly the longest overrun that I recall ever watching.
But do you know how long it actually was significant is in his mind?
How long?
7 minutes.
Wait, it went longer than that.
That's what it looked like to me on my fucking DVR, because I taped Modern Family. It was supposed to be on afterwards, and when I paused it, when all the shit was over with, we were 7 minutes into Modern Family.
Oh, I thought I'll wait till the ratings.
No, but you know what? Wait a minute.
Okay.
For once, their overrun, their normal overrun of 5 minutes was on the DVR. And so I was recording for 2 hours and 5 minutes, and I got 7 minutes past that, so it'd be 12 minutes.
There you go, because I was going to say it was like 13 minutes on my end.
But why then? Now that they have started putting 5 minutes onto the goddamn DVR, then why are they still over? Just put whatever it's going to goddamn be.
When has the overrun been effective in helping anything? Does the network want them to have it just because it gives an artificial boost usually to the rating? Otherwise, how has having an overrun helped at all?
But now that they are having an overrun, actually, they're doing what everybody from us to Brian Alvarez said they ought to do: put it on the DVR listing, tell the cable company it's going to be 5 minutes more. So now that's there, and then they go over that.
They still go over, yeah.
So can't they just goddamn decide what it's going to be? Because it's not like there's an actual match going on that can't end. It's like, no, we can't go off the air before the last touchdown, whatever. No, they can do whatever they want. So
every single segment on the show could have had at least 2 minutes shaved off it, legitimately.
Some of those things could have been amputated. But anyway, are you ready for our main event?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, because it's Cody. The Continental Breakfast title was on the line with Cody defending against Dax Harwood. Now, first, there were 3 of these titles at one time. They were independent of each other. It was the Ring of Honor title. It was the, oh, God damn it,
New Japan Strong
title, and one they made up.
The winner of the Continental Classic Tournament.
There you go. And that person was champion of all 3 of those things.
Triple Crown, they called it before.
Triple Crown. But apparently then they decided that you could lose one of your crowns individually. And who was champion at Kingston? Kingston lost one of these to somebody. But now he's hurt anyway, so it doesn't matter. But he still has something. But Cody ended up with this. So that's the title lineage that we've come to know, right?
Right.
Well, there you go. So anyway, Dax may be, again, the best and the most dependable in-ring guy in the company, but he's never meant less. FTR has never meant less. Dax has never meant less as an individual wrestler because he's a loser. He never wins a singles match except against Cash. He hardly ever wins a tag team match.
Well, for the record, he did just win a match on Collision, I believe, against Tommy Billington, the Dynamite Kid, the nephew of Tom Billington. Which people were raving about. They said it was really good. I even heard from people in the company, oh, you got to watch this match. And he beat the Dynamite Kid's nephew who had never wrestled there before.
Well, then right there, that would propel one into superstardom. So FTR's never been colder. They've been booked into obscurity. He will lose here undoubtedly. But it's to showcase their newest, $1 billion investment. And my opinion was, okay, He hasn't had a good match since he got here. In my opinion, he is generally the least impressive, laziest import that they have had from Japan. More than Minoru Suzuki, more than Ishii. But if anybody can have a tear down the house match with Okodi, it'll be Dax, right? And by the way, since this is for the Continental Breakfast title, the rules are no one at ringside and no interference. So once again, for the newer listeners, that means they can stop it anytime they want. What they have done now with this stupid Mark basement E-Fed booking rule is illustrate that the promotion, anytime it wants, can stop interference from outside parties and running in angles, heat by the heels, whatever. They just, when they don't stop it, it's because they didn't want to. So the heels don't get any heat for it. We established that when they first pulled this fucking stupid bullshit, right?
Right.
And then they ring the bell at 9:54 p.m., so the significant overrun. And Brian, I'm sorry, maybe you can find something I missed. I watched it like you did with the plumber. My mind is closed on him, has been a long time ago, sort of like the fucking lid of a grease trap or a septic tank. But with Okodi, everybody says he's done things. Okay. But this looked to me like a fantasy camp where an established pro is being paid to work out a match with some mark with no physique, no personality, no facial expression, no experience, not a ton of coordination. And they're walking through it with the mark, trying to make sure he doesn't get hurt. And that's, it's the best one that he's had because Dax was having it with him. And Dax is the best guy he's been in the ring with, but a fibromyalgia patient works a more physical style than fucking Okodi. What am I missing?
For the record, I like Okada. I thought the match with Pac was good. I think he is good. I don't think he's an inexperienced guy who's not good. Now, with that said, sometimes people who have worked a hard schedule with a really hard style, that sometimes you question how much is working and how much is just, no, they're laying it in. Sometimes maybe they would, leave their country and come to another country and hopefully not have to do that. He's not working the G1 anymore, you know what I mean? And I don't think the two guys in the ring were the problem. The match, the fans weren't into it. That's a booking issue more than anything else. Okada's been used like a jerk-off, and FTR never wins.
But no, come on. If the people in Greenville, South Carolina are seeing this son of a bitch for the first time, and that's what they saw, Okada ain't going to ever draw any money in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm sorry. I'm seeing a performance that most guys that were at least halfway in the upper 50 percentile of their class in wrestling school for about a year and a half could fucking have. I don't, and here's if this translated to another sport, the MO that you just gave about how, well, sometimes when people work a hard schedule and they go somewhere else, well, maybe then one of the baseball teams needs to sign Pete Rose. Isn't he's still living, right?
Well, he's not allowed. He's ineligible from being involved with Major League Baseball.
But there's a statute of limitations on everything. No, the point I'm making is...
It's a lifetime ban. There's no statute of limitations.
Because he, in 1970, goddamn 3, you ought to have seen him fucking run those bases. So let's sign him today for a bunch of money and let him run the bases now. That's the same fucking logic.
Again, we'll see how it works. And I'm not saying this is a perfect analogy, but Butch Reed was a kick-ass fucking wrestler in Mid-South Wrestling as a babyface and as a heel. Great. You didn't see any of that when he became the natural Butch Reed in the WWF. But when he went to the NWA, WCW, Doom were pretty awesome. Same guy. WWF caused a lot of guys to work a different schedule, or a different pace, a different style because of the schedule. Again, not a perfect analogy, but maybe Okada understands that, especially before these fans. I mean, what are they going to do if the fans are just sitting there? Eventually they got him up for some stuff at the end, but if the fans are just sitting there watching, what else do you want them to do?
Have work, sweat, have some aggression, have some on a goddamn headlock takeover. Don't look like a goddamn awkward fucking 4-month trainee. You don't have to take bumps through furniture if the fans aren't reacting, but if you have some goddamn body language, if you're making that much money, have some body language, have some snap in your shit, have some precision to your fucking execution. Do the simple shit and make it look like it's fucking hard and rough and difficult. Sell a goddamn fucking hold if you have to, but don't just fucking wander around from piss poor fucking move to piss poor move and then let Dax lead you where he's doing everything that I just mentioned. Dax was doing. The other guys, he's a Japanese George Goulas. He doesn't even stand up. He doesn't even stand up straight. If he puts a fucking suit jacket on and doesn't put his arms in the fucking sleeves, it would slide right off those sloped shoulders. Good God.
Okada speaks better English, too, than George Goulas.
Well, I'm not disputing that. And then, so anyway, Okada kicks the rope into Dax's nuts and then hits the short arm clothesline 1, 2, 3. So Dax's string is alive. And then here comes Jungle Jackoff and the Buckaroos in and start getting heat on Dax. How many matches tonight? This is for their big multi-man garbage match at the pay-per-view, but every match they've had in the ring, then the fucking, if the heel wins, he still goddamn gets on it. Whatever.
And they weren't getting heat.
And no, they were getting heat on Dax in terms of the physical act of trying to look like you're beating him up, but they weren't getting any heat. And then Cash and Danielson come in and the heels stop them too. And they're getting a lousy heat. And then the music plays and here comes Darby Allin. Darby Allin. His foot is flopping around. His face is bashed in. He's hitting everybody with a skateboard while he's wearing a pink furry parka. I thought somebody had slipped something in my goddamn Sprite Zero.
The human bus stop.
Oh, the human bus stop, Darby Allin. Bus stop, I drop, it parks right on my old schnozola. All right, apologies
the
to
Hollies.
the Hollies.
Wow, the Hollies here on the show.
Yeah, it came right. It was there. And the heels bailed out of the situation. And apparently his face is still bashed in and he's not quite recovered yet, but he'll come back and be on Team AEW in a fucking anything goes 8-man garbage match. And there's an injured fucking guy. You know, his family may sue Tony. I know Darby wouldn't ever if he was still, but if they succeed in their mission, the family could still sue Tony Khan and AEW for gross negligence and malfeasance and potentially body odor, couldn't they?
You know, both guys are from Washington. It says a lot who got the bigger pop on this night, Swerve Strickland or Darby Allin. Obviously, it's a surprise, but still, it was the biggest pop of the entire show next to Willow powerbombing Mercedes Moné. Big pop for Darby. He's over. So you just got to give him time to fuck that up. He's a part of Team AEW now with Danielson and FTR for the Stadium Stampede, Arena Anarchy, whatever the hell this garbage is going to be. Didn't Danielson get hurt in one of these with Jericho?
I think so.
Yeah. All right, well.
They're both in it.
Hey, at least they ended the show with a babyface making a comeback and kicking ass and not getting his ass kicked. That's progress.
Well, but Darby can never sell again because if he can get hit by a bus and go to a fucking Broadway play, what kind of bump is going to hurt him?
Well, that was Dynamite, and as Jim begins modulating, we will all modulate now and hop forward to the future in the time machine. Let's find out about those ratings for this show. Let's go to the time machine right now. All right, I know Jim's excited. We are in the future.
That sounds like if you hit the Who in the head with a brick.
That was Mama O'Reilly right there that I just played. But ladies and gentlemen, we are here with Bad Jokes and the AEW.
Yes, and Kyle O'Reilly wants a word with you also. And so does Baba.
Well, speaking of Bad Jokes, the AEW Dynamite ratings are right here.
Oh, boy.
Jim, Wednesday.
What was it last week? How many did they have last week? They were down in the sevens, weren't they?
Last week was 711,000 viewers on average.
That's a 7-11. Well, did they get boxcars this week, or what happened on Wednesday, May 15th?
And actually, let me just say this because it has some stats here from WrestleNomics. Well, I'll give them in a second. Wednesday, May 15th, AEW Dynamite on TBS, 8 to 10:12 p.m. On average, 672,000 viewers.
Oh, to quote the late, great Paul Bearer, oh, sweet Jesus.
That is the lowest overall rating since January 6, 2021. That is
Wait, I wonder why that nobody was watching anything else on television on January 6, 2021.
You know, I didn't even realize that. That's a very good point. And the key demo...
So we could even give AEW a pass on that day, but go ahead.
And the key demo, which was a 0.23, is the lowest key demo, which of course is 18 to 49-year-old males. The lowest key demo number in English since June 24th, 2020.
I don't know what happened on June 24th, 2020. So a lot of people were intubated around that time.
It was number 6 among cable telecasts for Wednesday, with the NBA dominating the night. Versus last week, obviously minus 5%. Versus the trailing 4-week average, which is 715 minus 6%. Versus last year at the same... Is this last year at the same time? No, that's quarter to quarter. I wanted to see if we had last year's number for the same week, but let's go to these quarterly numbers.
Well, you know, and here's something to give the Cult of Cornette listeners some homework. All of you mathematical geniuses and statisticians out there. They do the NBA playoffs every year. We keep saying that, right? So this happens every year, but this don't happen to their numbers every year. Is the NBA suddenly overperforming what they've done the last few years since AEW has been in existence against them? Or is it just that the same amount of people are watching the NBA, give or take, and people are just jumping off the AEW ship? That's a good thing to ponder.
There are people still making excuses for what has been, for us, obvious for a very long time, and now the chickens are coming home to roost. It's a bad wrestling TV show. It's poorly booked. It's poorly done. It's not a good American wrestling television show.
I don't know if it's a good Ecuadorian television wrestling show.
But you hear the excuses. It's the NBA playoffs, and they're a big deal. It's a very big deal. And you also hear the excuse that there are people dropping cable. There's a drop rate. So it's affecting every channel and every show. However, what that conveniently ignores is that AEW's decline in viewership is outpacing all of those things. It's not just people getting rid of cable, so, all right, I will consume my AEW in another way. It's people dropping AEW. And people need to recognize that. Jim, the quarterly numbers supplied by WrestleNomics. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m., Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher versus Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley, with picture-in-picture, 753,000 viewers.
Oh, that is the lowest start point in quite some time. Even like I think they've killed the Big Bang Theory's ratings. Just if people don't want to watch that last Big Bang Theory on the on the off chance, the risk that they might lead into the wrestling program and not be able to cut it off in time.
I always mention to you that WrestleNomics has a trend line in the chart here, and if anyone wants to ever see it, just go check out their Patreon. But this is 753. It doesn't have an exact number, but the 90-day trend is over 900,000 to start. So this is way off.
Way off. You're way off.
Quarter 2, the continuation of that match, the post-match with Konosuke Takeshita, who just did an interview in Japan complaining about the booking, and Claudio Castagnoli, a recap of some sort. Oh, that was the recap of Swerve and Christian, I believe. Adam Copeland and the House of Black's live angle, and the Elite and Jack Perry backstage promo, followed by an ad break. 692,000 viewers.
Well, on the plus side, looking at the bright side of things, that's not as many as they usually lose because they didn't start as many to begin with, but they only lost 61,000. Usually it's over six figures.
Well, if there's anyone who consistently loses viewers on this show, it's the Young Bucks. Let's go to quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. The FTR backstage promo, Christopher Daniels and Matt Sydal versus the Young Bucks with picture-in-picture, and the post-match, 656,000 viewers.
Boom! Well, they did what they normally do, and there goes another 36,000. So now we're down.
Oh.
We're still only down about 97,000 from the start.
And this did 285,000 in 18 to 49-year-old males, which is the low point of the show.
Ooh.
So that audience is not accepting the Young Bucks right now.
Well, because think about it. People want to see, like people like them on television. And if the men 18 to 49 don't want to see the Bucks, that's entirely understandable. The Bucks would need to be men ages 18 to 49 before those people would want to see them.
We go to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. Tony Storm's backstage promo, an ad break, Malachi Black's backstage promo, Hook versus Sebastian Wolf.
Oh boy.
Hook and Chris Jericho's live promo and angle with Big Bill and Shibata, and the Swerve Strickland backstage promo. 692,000 viewers, and the high point in the key demo, 312,000.
So as soon as the Buckaroos got off the fucking screen, people came back and they equaled what they did in quarter 2.
I expect that trend will continue in the weeks ahead. The numbers.
Wow, for that quarter that you just read, people came back. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how much they didn't want to see what came before?
For the top angle in the company, but let's go now to the world champion, quarter 5, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. Brian Cage versus Swerve Strickland, with picture-in-picture, 652,000 viewers.
Oh, and they lost another 40 at the top of the hour. And now that's the lowest point in the show, but I guess not the lowest point in the key demo.
No, the lowest point was the Young Bucks segment.
But now again, looking at the thing on the positive side, they've only lost 101,000 people total from where they started. They've usually lost at least 150 or more by now. Maybe 200.
Well, we go now to quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The continuation of Strickland versus Cage, the post-match with Christian and his friends, the ad break, the Hook Shibata backstage angle with Samoa Joe, and the beginning of Tony Storm versus Harley Cameron, 678,000 viewers.
Well, at least they're gaining. They're right in the pocket here.
Well, the pocket, you can't.
Does it have a hole in the bottom of it?
I was going to say, you can't say the pocket continues. That wouldn't make any sense. But the pocket is here again at quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The continuation of Tony Storm versus Harley Cameron with picture-in-picture, the Will Ospreay-Roderick Strong backstage confrontation, Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné's live contract signing, the start of that, 663,000 viewers.
So as soon as another one of the high-priced acquisitions gets on a screen, people start tuning out.
We then go to quarter 8, and I remind you, we have an overrun here. The
yes.
Quarter 8, 9:40.
More like run over.
Quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. The continuation of the contract signing, an ad break, and the start of Kazuchika Okada versus Dax Harwood with picture-in-picture. 622,000 viewers. And the overrun, 10 to 10:12 p.m., so almost a full quarter. The continuation of Harwood versus Okada, and the post-match with the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, Cash Wheeler, Bryan Danielson, Darby Allin, and you. 634,000 viewers.
So, Mercedes only ran off 15,000 people, but as soon as they got a look at Okada, 41,000 said, oh, hell no. And then we had another 12,000 straggle in the overrun looking for the start of Modern Family.
It's every quarter you can do just a complete analysis and understand why the show doesn't pick up steam, why the show doesn't pick up viewers, why people don't come back. Again, the numbers will likely go up after the NBA playoffs. Are they going to go back to where they were? I don't know about that. Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher versus Danielson and Moxley. Jeff Cobb is someone you never see on this show. Kyle Fletcher is someone who's never won a match on this show against Danielson and Moxley. Moxley, who means... Actually, I shouldn't... It's hard to say. Moxley still means a lot to the hardcore AEW fan, but that isn't really growing anymore. And Danielson's just kind of coasting right now, it seems like. Then you get more of that. Takeshita's involved. Again, complaining about the booking now. Claudio's involved. No one cares about Claudio right now. The Adam Copeland House of Black stuff is awful. Every baby face on this show gets destroyed. Jack Perry's backstage promo. Jack Perry can't pull this off. He looks like he's selling dime bags. He doesn't seem believable in any way. FTR's promo. FTR's dead. Daniels and Sydal versus the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are dead. No one has seen Daniels on this show in forever, even has thought about him. Matt Sydal's never won a match on this show. Tony Storm's backstage promo. Hey, at least they present her like a star. I may not like it, but at least they present her like a star. Malachi Black's back in the fucking spooky corner with a ring. How did he get there from the ring? He's doing his promo. The Hook match. You know what? People like Hook. There you go. And then you drag Jericho and Big Bill into this, and it turns it into a shit show. Swerve Strickland versus Brian Cage. Swerve Strickland's the world heavyweight champion. He's been made to look like a fucking bitch on this show 3 weeks straight since winning the title, and it didn't really do him any favors before he won the title. After that, we got what? Tony Storm versus Harley Cameron. The woman who had her first match on the show last week has a long match with Tony Storm here. Of course, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez got into a giant fight over who the heel was here. So the objective or whatever they were trying to have as their goal there probably didn't get achieved. Then we have what? Roderick Strong and Will Ospreay backstage. Will Ospreay cuts a good promo, and it was a pre-tape backstage with a stable that was led by the Devil that took down the AEW World Champion and now are jerk-offs on this show that you never even think about. So that's happening. And then we get Willow and Mercedes Moné. Willow Nightingale needs practice and maybe coaching about how to talk, but she's got a lot. She's got something going on. Mercedes Moné has been a complete disaster, a bust, a bomb. The AEW fans aren't into her. She's coming across awful on these shows. She's coming across like she's on NXT on these shows. Just terrible. And then Okada versus Harwood. Okada.
Well, how can you go wrong there?
Okada has been lost in the shuffle. If they really gave him a lot of money, he hasn't meant it so far. He's just another guy on that show, and he's tagged or he's put with the jerk-off stable that the fans don't believe in. The Young Bucks and Jack Perry. Versus
and
Dax
he looks
Harwood.
like a fibromyalgia patient.
Versus Dax Harwood, who never wins a match against anyone important. So this is the main...
Have we seen him win it against anyone?
Well, against the Dynamite Kid's nephew.
He only puts stars over.
Yeah. And this is the main event on this show. There's a reason why people dive off this show. There's nothing there. The booking is awful. And everyone wants to pretend it's something else.
But you left out the biggest question. You're supposed to say what?
What's the biggest question?
Where's Nana?
Well, that is a very good question. Will he be written off the show? Or will he ever appear dancing again? Will he turn on Swerve and go with the moguls, which would be so stupid? But everything on the show, the commentators are useless. It's not just that I don't like Excalibur and Shivani. It's that they're useless as lead commentators. They don't do anything to help the show at all. They're useless. Eliminator matches. There's something no one needs to hear ever again. Here's an eliminator match. It sounds great in Tony's head. It sucks. And it doesn't make anyone join the show or care about this. The overrun sucks. It does nothing but make people say, okay, I can leave the show. Everything is a disaster. And everyone wants to pretend like, oh, everything's all right. And Tony will do a press scrum after the next pay-per-view and say, everything's great. We've had a great string of great shows. I think these are the best shows we've ever done. Everything's wonderful. The show's awful right now. They are lucky the number's not lower than it is, because it's a bad show. It's a badly produced and badly booked wrestling show. They're lucky the number isn't a lot lower.
Well, Brian, I've got to tell you, I'm extremely disappointed in you and your negative attitude. I think we need to give these people some leeway. They're still new. They're finding their way. I'm always one to look on the bright side of things and give people a second chance and not take them to task when they're giving their best effort. I just don't know where this animosity from you is coming from. You're cracked. You've cracked. You've finally snapped.
It's just terrible. There's still fans pretending this isn't terrible. And you want to fix this? It can't be Tony. Tony doesn't recognize that Tony's the problem. And you have people like Dave Meltzer, who Tony parrots, who don't understand what the problem is. We've been telling you this was coming for a long time. For a long time. And here it is. They don't have anyone on this show who could fucking draw. They don't have CM Punk. They don't have MJF. The two biggest draws they had for everything, company-wide, across the board. One's injured, and fans of his are hoping he stays injured and doesn't come back and goes to WWE. And the other one was chased out of the company by the people who are driving the ratings into the toilet. This company's a joke. This company's a joke. They don't draw fans anywhere. The pay-per-views are down. Everything is down, and everything was preventable.
Let me bring you up one more topic. They got nobody left to sign either, do they? There's no more game changers. There's no more superstar free agents. Are there any more indie darlings? Have they burned through everybody that they could get that is supposedly would make a difference?
There's always people that we don't know of that are out there, but primarily...
Well, people that we don't know of, they're not going to be game changers, are they?
You wouldn't think so, but primarily, they have milked the indies dry. They have sucked the roster dry of New Japan. They have taken a lot of WWE cast-offs that were not necessary on this show. There's a lot still being paid that aren't even on this show. Where's Miro?
He's in Bulgaria.
That's right. I mean, it's how do you take this seriously? Who are they going to sign? What are they going to do? Are they going to wait for a WWE star to become a free agent? Tony doesn't do himself any favors. For anyone who thinks just money solves anything, you're going to make a lot of money if you're a star in WWE. Do you really want more money to be a part of the Chaos Factory? It's not worth it. Who's going to take that deal? Someone that Paul Levesque and Nick Khan don't want. That's who.
Well,
seriously, would you sign there if you cared about your career and wanted to do something?
God, no.
Would you sign other than money?
Because now we've got a track record. The only talent that they didn't kill off, bury, diminish, make less than they were before when he came into the company was CM Punk, and they ran him off outright. Everybody else has been made marginal, immaterial, less than they were before, hasn't panned out, been booked into oblivion, from Okodi and Mercedes and Ostrich and Edge and on and on and on. All of the Paige, where's Paige? Soraya, whatever they call her these days. Nobody knows she's still in the business.
That is what they call her these days, in fact.
Yes. So, if they did that to recognize, pretty big names in the business, when they start going to these indie darlings, what are they going to do to them? Make them more meaningless.
Here's the other thing, too, just going to the overall booking, and no matter what wrestlers you want to put in there. The Young Bucks are complete failures at this right now. But it could be them or it could be anybody. They did an angle where the promoter got beat up in front of his billionaire dad. Then an EVP who was arguably one of the biggest stars in the company. Kenny's up there. Kenny actually is someone who has been able to be a draw in that company. And that's one of the reasons he can't work anymore, because of the way he worked. He broke himself down. And he gets beat up, put in the hospital. They followed it up with all this. It means nothing. They decided to do this. They know when the NBA playoffs are. They decided to do this string of angles when they were almost guaranteed the lowest viewership, barring the booking continuing to drive people away, that they would have all year, all things being equal. The NBA playoffs kill them, unless Vanderpump moves back to Wednesdays. So why would they book any of this in the middle of this? Why wouldn't you wait till the week after the NBA playoffs?
Do you think if somebody is interested in real sports, they're going to be watching AEW? Even if they're interested in WWE, I think they don't even, I'm sure the Buckaroos don't even consider the NBA playoffs competition because none of their, goofy indie marks that love them would be caught dead at anything besides a fucking wrestling match. They don't watch basketball. They don't watch football. They don't watch wrestling if it looks real. They only watch silly cartoon shit. So that's not your sports audience.
And then Swerve wins the belt, and then they put him in this feud with Christian, which sucks so bad. And Christian's just so fucking annoying as this fucking character, because that's what it is. It's a character. Why wasn't Swerve put into this Young Bucks thing? That would have made perfect sense. Who's on Team AEW? How about the world champion? The guy who the Young Bucks a couple weeks ago on TV were fucking with.
But then, unfortunately, then he'd have to work with the Young Bucks and people would revolt in droves. He's dead either way.
Team AEW's Darby, Danielson, and FTR. It's just...
Now, to be fair, they didn't know Kingston was going to get hurt.
He apparently broke his leg. Is that what it is?
I don't know.
Apparently he had a match in New Japan at that show in California, and because they did some kind of gimmick match for this New Japan show in America, he hit both of his legs on the barricade, apparently, and broke one of his legs, and we saw the clips of the angle with the Young Bucks and Jack Perry and him on the show. They had to wait, apparently, a while for him to be able to get into the ring. They didn't know if they were going to be able to do the angle, because he was so messed up. But they had time. Luckily, they had lots of time.
Well, at least he has time now off to give birth to that hippopotamus that he's been expecting.
Oh, will you stop it? Why do you got to mess with the guy? He's hurt right now.
Well, because he's had, 4 years now to lose a little weight or get a little tan to cover up some of it. Fat looks better brown and white, or just stop taking his fucking straps down.
You know what's sad, too? This one match, this Anarchy in the Arena match, is the match he fits in perfectly for. He was in one before. He would have been perfect in that match, and now he's another guy injured. Although Ricky Starks was on that injured list, and he's saying he's not injured. He just doesn't know why he's being used. And Sammy Guevara reportedly says the same thing. I don't know why I'm not being called back.
Well, no, he's suspended because
he was suspended, 2 months ago?
He hurt somebody else and then...
Jeff Hardy.
And then picked him up and dropped him on his head again. But I don't know. What about, instead of suspending the fucking guy for that, why don't you stand him up in front of the rest of the roster and say, stupid, do not be like stupid, and point at him?
We've been saying this was all coming for a long time. You're now seeing it from AEW fans. You're now seeing it from the Observer fans. Even they recognize that they can't pretend anymore. Tony's the problem. The show's awful. The promotion's being run really poorly. Nobody's over. And that's that. And any of the wrestlers who want to get on social media and try to defend the company, you look like a fucking boob. Everyone knows why you're doing it. Nobody believes you. You look like an idiot. Anyone who wants to try to defend everything that's happening here, you look like an idiot. You know who looks like they're telling the truth? Takeshita, Ricky Starks, the guys who have no idea what's going on, the guys who get ghosted, the guys who get over and then are just off TV. Atrocious. And it's all Tony Khan's fault.
Well, now next week for Dynamite, they're going to be out in the Lollipop Guild's home area, right? The fucking...
Well, they're on a West Coast swing, I guess, because they were just in Washington, then they did Portland for Collision, and now they're going to be coming down to California.
Hollywood swinger.
Wherever your homeless are, you will find AEW for the next few weeks.
Well, but they're in Bakersfield, and we've mentioned Bakersfield, the home of the Buck Owens sound, right? And that's right near... the Buckaroos' hometown. And that's, where all their friends are. You think they're going to sell out? Are they in a big building there? I heard maybe their advance wasn't too good. As a matter of fact, they're at the Mechanics Bank Arena. I have this information here in front of me. They're at the Mechanics Bank Arena. Here's what I don't know, Brian. What's the capacity of that arena if you're actually using it as an arena?
Let me look
instead
that up.
of a piss hole in a snowbank.
I will look that up right now.
But in the Mechanics Bank Arena this is from yesterday. So let's say 6 days out, they have distributed 1,530 tickets. Now, that's not sold, that's distributed. That counts comps and whatever. And they're set up for 2,300 people in this arena.
Capacity 10,000.
10,000! So they're running a 10,000 seat building. They've set it up for 2,300, and they got 1,500 out 6 days before the national television broadcast. In their home area. I'm surprised that Maddie and Nikki weren't out on the sidewalk, passing out flyers and drumming up support.
Yeah, you guys can brag about having mansions in the desert. You got it by ripping off a billionaire. You guys ain't worth it. You guys can't draw. You guys ain't moving merch at any real level. Nobody cares to watch you on this show. It's over, and neither one of you are 40 yet. Good job. Great job. Fucking idiots.
Wait a minute, what did you say? What kind of job was it?
I said it was a great job. Well, we'll be hearing more of that, I'm sure, during the media scrum, and this was ratings. Didn't mean to get off on a rant here. I'm just so fed up with this fucking show. It never gets better, and you watch it and you're like, if anyone was booking, it's not even if I was booking, if my daughter was booking, they would have a better way to format this show and make things make sense. If you notice, when Tony switched from whatever it was, vertical to horizontal, and then bought Ring of Honor, everything went to shit completely.
Everything went to shit. He needs to go back vertical.
That's right. Well, those are the ratings. Let's go back. Any final comments before we go back to the past?
Yes, I just wish you'd try to be more positive like me.
All right. Well, I'll be positive like Jim or positive like the Sheik. I'm not sure, but let's go back to the show right now. Time travel. I never played with that one before. Well, we are here in the future again.
That's what she said.
Back from the past. That's what she said. I have no comeback for that, ladies and gentlemen. But here we are, back from Dynamite.
Sounded like John Kay was about to break out into a rendition of Magic Carpet Ride.
Well, Jim, maybe when you're on the magic carpet going back and forth, or maybe just purely right after watching AEW Dynamite, that feeling you get in your head, you need to lay down, you need a good night's sleep, you got to get some relief off your shoulders. Is that what you say? I don't even know. But you need some help, ladies and gentlemen.
You gotta
and we all need some help. Trust me, we need some help, ladies and gentlemen.
I know somebody that needs some help. And folks, I can tell all of you how you can sleep better. Don't listen to Brian last. But if your medicine cabinet is crammed with stuff that doesn't work, that's been in the news a lot lately. All these over-the-counter remedies that'll either not do anything or do the wrong things. You need to be more natural. You need clean ingredients, high-quality formulations, scientists involved in these things. And that's our folks from CB Distillery. Our friends over there at CB Distillery, that's what you need to do, folks. You need to concentrate on no fluff and no fillers, just pure, effective CBD solutions designed to help support your health. Because CBD solutions are where it's at in 2 non-clinical surveys. That means that these people didn't have to be committed to clinics after the survey was over with. 81% of customers experienced more calm. 80% said CBD helped with pain after physical activity. An impressive 90% said they slept better with CBD. And 3%, including much of Louisville, Kentucky, said that the baby birds chirped louder when you gave them a little CBD with their seed.
Well, no, that's not what anyone has said, and that's not recommended. This is for human consumption only, want to remind you. This is Based on non-clinical surveys, these surveys were conducted in a 7-Eleven parking lot. As far away from the clinic as possible.
I'm telling you that it was right across the street from that clinic, but if you struggle with any kind of health concern, call 911.
Help!
But if you need to sleep or just relax, calm down, zone out, tune out, or potentially relax after you've seen one of these high-quality episodes of modern professional wrestling, our friends at CB Distillery have over 2 million happy customers. Some of them are positively blissful. And there's one of them right now. We need to throw another net on top of him. And you get a solid 100% money-back guarantee if you are not satisfied, if you're not comatose after taking some of this product. We'll have your family contact them, and they'll give your estate the money back. And right now, we can get you a 20% discount to get you started, folks. They've got all kinds of products on cbdistillery.com containing the aforementioned CBD, and you can choose and pick. And you get 20% off all things on that website if you use the code JCE. cbdistillery.com. Use the code JCE for 20% off. And again, before you ask, Brian, that code again, JCE.
All right, there it is.
Ooh.
Well,
I'll tell you what. Well, I knew it was going to come out eventually, but I didn't know it was going to make that noise.
All right, well, I don't know what's happening over there. Let me put this down.